We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at Haney and Company. You know, we all know that in today's complex financial landscape, having a trusted advisor can make all the difference. Since 1960, Haney and Company has been providing comprehensive accounting services to a diverse range of clients, from small businesses to large corporations. With nearly 400 professionals across 13 locations, they offer services in tax, audit, business consulting, and client advisory. In fact, their commitment to excellence has earned them recognition from Accounting Today and Forbes magazines. At Haney and Company, though, it's not just about balancing books. It's about building lasting relationships based on trust and mutual growth. So visit HaneyCPAs.com. That's HaneyCPAs.com to learn how they can support your business's financial journey.
We are so grateful to be supported by these community champions: Sales MD, Team Friday, Realist Lab, Kiana Patterson, Diego Chavez, Jer Boucher, Heather Ryder, Janine Sua, Lily Roca, and Steve Kernan.
Yeah, hey, what's going on? It's Friday, June 27th, and that means it's time for you and I to hang out and enjoy a little bit of stoppage time. A little bit of time between the end of your busy week when you've been getting all kinds of stuff done and this coming weekend. And so here we are on Friday, and I've got a lot on my mind. There's a lot going on, but I want to talk to you about two very specific things, two things I want to draw your attention to today. One is, if you are a millennial, if you're a Gen Zer, if you're a young leader, young professional, young entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, anywhere in the world, I want you to draw your attention to listening to this week's episode of Entrepreneurial Thinkers with my friend Oligaby Leal. Oligaby is a longtime friend, a longtime mentee. Let's call her a mentee turned friend. She's all grown up now. We've maybe known each other since she was maybe 18, 19 years old or something like that. When we first met back in Monterrey, Mexico in 2016, I think it was. I've had the great pleasure to watch her grow, become a young two-time CEO in her professional life. And we got together to have a really heartfelt personal conversation. She was very vulnerable, very open, very honest about her transition and her big life decision to quit her job as CEO and to take care of herself and her own need for wellness and peace and health, but also to just kind of reset her priorities and find some purpose in life. So it's an incredible episode. It's a very personal, heartfelt conversation between two people who you can tell kind of deeply know each other and trust one another. For me, it was joyful to listen to in much the same way that I enjoy conversations like I've got to have this weekend with my daughter around my birthday celebrations, who is another equally talented, very earnest, very humble, but smart millennial leader in her field here and now as a mom. And so I'm so grateful that I get to spend so much time with so many people who are so much younger than I am and have such a very different lived experience, although we share many common threads. And this conversation with Oli was no different. So I shared this one in particular with you in hopes that you really do take the time to sit and listen to it. If you're someone of my age and background and experience level, I can encourage you to listen to this conversation with Oli because it'll be insightful for you in a way that maybe you don't have the benefit of having really talented, smart millennials or Gen Zers in your life like I do. And so maybe you can share in this experience, this conversation that I had with Oli. She leaves us with so many lessons, but really at the end of the day, it was about finding purpose and finding a personal connection to her purpose, as opposed to just this professional kind of pursuit of, as she calls it, basically leading other people's lives or fulfilling other people's dreams and hopes for her and for them as young people. So I really encourage you, if you're a parent or not a parent, if you're a leader, if you're a board member, if you're an investor, it's a really powerful conversation to listen to and enjoy and maybe take some key lessons away from. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, the power of storytelling and great conversation this week. And the second thing is actually an announcement that I've talked about before, but I want to go into a little bit more deeply. And I want to use and give full shout out credit to one of the alumnus of our show, Bruce Hamilton, who is an investor here in Los Angeles. He's a young, really, really talented, smart guy. And I put him kind of at the intersection in my life of pop culture, media, and technology. both from an investor standpoint and just from, frankly, just a sensitivity and an awareness knowledge standpoint. Bruce is like a touchstone for me. And we recently had an occasion to get together for coffee here in our neighborhood. We live not too far from one another in Hollywood. And I'm going to reference some of his essay that he wrote on his Beehive, his newsletter, which you should go check out. And I'll talk about that. And we'll put the link in the notes here for this week's Stoppage Time. But I want to talk to you about what we're doing with the Storytellers Company. And this is the second big important thing I want to draw your attention to in the context of the power of great storytelling and the power of great conversation as a storytelling, or in this case, marketing, business to business or business to consumer marketing tool. We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at Chisos Capital. Everyone knows that raising capital is hard. And frankly, finding the next pool of entrepreneurs to get access to as limited investors is sometimes impossible too. Do you have a big idea, a dream you're building, but you're struggling to find early funding? Well, Chisos is changing the game for founders, creators, athletes, and investors. Whether you're launching a startup, growing your creative brand, or training for the big leagues, Chisos backs you. Chisos uniquely invests up to $100,000 in people, not just products, whether they be entrepreneurs, creators, or even athletes. With their unique CISA model, convertible income share agreements, founders get flexible funding without giving up equity or ownership, and investors get attractive returns and great upside with less risk. Chisos works for both investors and the people bringing our world to life. If you're seeking access to a truly diverse pool of deals, or you're someone who feels overlooked by the VC game, Chisos is ready to back you. So apply now at chisos.io. The Storytellers Company was born to take what we do at the Entrepreneurial Thinkers podcast and expand it, right? And we've expanded it to include this show. So now between this show, Stoppage Time each week, which is around almost 50 episodes we've been doing this for, as well as then the 160 some odd shows, now I think over 170 that we've recorded. We haven't released them all yet in the coming weeks for Entrepreneurial Thinkers. We have basically, over 5 years now, become humbly expert at and pretty good at creating podcasts and telling people stories and amplifying the stories of others through podcasting, both audio and now video, as a medium. And what we're doing with the Storytellers Company that is kind of an unexpected but seems very now natural twist in our business is we are now offering what we call our studio side of our business. So we have now kind of grown to separate the business in two parts. There is our own intellectual property or in-house side of our production capabilities that we apply to Entrepreneurial Thinkers, to this Stoppage Time, that will be part and parcel of what we will do with Entrepreneurial Thinkers live event shows as we take those on the road over the next couple of years. That'll be part and parcel about whatever types of projects we eventually aspire to create in the television industry or on the web in television-like series around our concepts, and also will be part and parcel of what we eventually do with print and books and storytelling in that format. But the other side of the business, which is really excitingly going to become the foundational sustainable business model for us, is the studio side of our business, in which we will work with organizations, individuals, brands, companies, whatever you want to call them, however you want to refer to them, to build podcasts for them that they can then utilize as part of what we would call their marketing stack. I oftentimes refer to this side of our business as essentially working with clients to help tell their stories in the same kind of programmatic, systemic, operationally sound way that we tell our own stories. So again, we're taking our model and our 5 years of skills developed and experiences in kind of production modeling, and we're just applying it. We're giving you access to it as a leader of an organization. And then through that, what you wind up with is what I call often the most three-dimensional, human, visceral, emotive storytelling mechanism that can be added to your traditional marketing stack. And I compare and contrast your traditional marketing stack as a corporate marketer or as a CEO or as an organizational leader. I compare your traditional marketing stack to this kind of more modern storytelling marketing stack in this way. And I use this three-dimensional, two-dimensional comparison, right? Because although I have tons of respect for why people in organizations create newsletters for their communities and why they use social media and why they have websites and why they occasionally will do webinars, topically, is that those things are two-dimensional. They're kind of flat. They're relatively static. They're more useful kind of for a moment in time. Whereas when you get over to the podcast, audio or video or both, which is kind of how the space has evolved now. You jump into this medium, which is what you're experiencing with me right now, right? So you have a connection to me. You have a literal connection to my voice. You have a connection to the metaphorical voice of our company, of myself, of Deanna, of Anna Paula, of the Storytellers Company, and how we tell stories, why we tell stories now, why me as the storyteller, and why it all matters to you, right? And so now we've entered this era where, as Bruce tells us, and again, Bruce, super dynamic, smart investor, tells us a couple of reasons, right? So here are a couple of reasons why podcasts are beginning to work as marketing, as B2B marketing, right? The average podcast listener will stay engaged with your content for 20 to 30 minutes at a time. Right? I mean, that dramatically deeper connection than you have on social media or even a YouTube ad, right? There's a stronger trust relationship, as Bruce talks about. 81% of podcast listeners say they will pay more attention to podcast ads than traditional ads. We've been super excited and grateful to add into our shows the sponsor ad placements of sponsors who are all members of our podcast community. In almost all cases, they are alumnus of our show. So we view the sponsorship ads that we placed in our shows so far that hopefully you've been enjoying as not just some random advertisement, click advertisement that comes from some brand or company that we have no connection to. We're being very intentional about how on our in-house side of our business, on our shows that we own, we are injecting opportunities for you to meet other leaders inside of our entrepreneurial thinkers community. Thought leadership, right? Podcasts allow brands to showcase their expertise, to tell stories and build authority in a way that feels very authentic. It feels very human, right? And ultimately, and I say this all the time, it's evergreen and everlasting content, right? So unlike social posts, which will disappear or the relevance of them might disappear, a great podcast as a mechanism to tell your company, your brand, your organization's story to your community or the community beyond yours, a good podcast episode can keep attracting new listeners and can continually be re-listened to for months and sometimes even years. So here's some examples. This isn't just that we've discovered that there's something we can do to our community, but let me give you an example of some of the brands that are already being wildly successful utilizing podcasting as part of their marketing stack. Sephora, Slack, eBay, Red Bull, Trader Joe's, and even REI. And we've probably only touched on a handful of these examples. And they're utilizing them all in very different ways, right? But ultimately what it is that they are creating long-form conversation and long-form storytelling engagement and connection with their community, with their audience slash consumers or buyers or investors or stakeholders or users or members of whatever their community is, right? So that's what we're now offering to you all. We're offering it at large. Very excited to announce so far that here we are almost at July 1st. And we've got 10 projects in discussion. We've got 3 of those projects that are just about ready to go into pre-production. And I can't wait to hopefully have all 10 of these projects go into pre-production. But we haven't even started marketing or publicly widely talking about this service offering of ours inside of the Storytellers Company until now, until this show right here today. So consider this kind of my unwrapping of what our great intentions are, is we want to build a business over here that allows us to help you tell your brand, your company, your organization stories in the most emotive, most human, most visceral, vulnerable ways. I should never say visceral and vulnerable together. Too much alliteration there, right? To your audiences. And in some cases, I will tell you humbly, I'm grateful for this opportunity, but in some cases, some of these projects that are in discussion with us already, these shows that will be created by us, are engaging me as their host. So they want to even bring my energy to the screen, to the microphone on behalf of their brand, to interview the people and players that are involved in what makes their company or their organization so uniquely powerful and important. And I'm honored for that opportunity to do that, to bring the energy that I bring to this show every week, to bring the energy that I bring to entrepreneurial thinkers every week, to you all in different ways on behalf of different organizations that we have a ton of respect for. So again, super excited to announce that we're here. This isn't nothing new. It's something new per se, right? Again, I'm not saying we've discovered, fire and wow, oh my gosh, you should all do this with us. I'm simply saying we're here and we're joining the party. We're excited. Ultimately, I am, as you know, from all of our conversations here in Stoppage Time and across Entrepreneurial Thinkers, a massive believer in the power of long form conversation. This week in my personal life and in our podcast life at Entrepreneurial Thinkers, both my daughter and Oligaby Leal reminded me of the true human power of connectivity through conversation. Both Oli, after we were done with her recording her episode, and then my daughter, after we were done with a long evening sitting around her kitchen table at her apartment, used words like trust, used words like love, used words like safe spaces, that we can have these types of conversations across generations, across different sets of expectations about life and about business, because we craft an opportunity, a space where people can come in and they can be themselves, and they can know that we are the Entrepreneurial Thinker Show are always going to amplify their stories in ways that not only just make them look good, but present them to the larger world in their most authentic sense, like as their best selves, right? And if you can do that in our business as much as we do it in our personal lives, man, like, wow, doesn't that unlock a ton of potential? I want to wake up at some point selfishly as a businessman, now who has told you for years that I aspired to make a living telling the stories of others as we do now. But we're only just getting started. And so I invite you into this conversation. I invite you to follow up with me or with us if this is something that is interesting you. If the studio side of what we're capable of doing can be done for you or your organization, we would welcome the opportunity to have those discussions. And ultimately, again, at the end of the day, all we're doing is we're just enabling more and more people to do what Bruce says is the smartest thing to be doing. And as he says in closing, like, smart brands are not asking if they should do podcasts today. They're asking how fast that they can build meaningful audio properties that are going to outlast the noise of their two-dimensional marketing that they've been doing for years and years and years. And I can't wait for Storytellers Company from here in Los Angeles, from leveraging across the talents of Mexico, to be able to help you do that, but also to help you be able to do it cost affordably, right? Efficiently, effectively, in a way that allows you to shine as the talent, so to speak, as the storyteller for your brand possibly, but without all the back end burden and all the administrative production technical burden that comes with trying to create a show as consistently good as the shows that we create for you from our side of the house. So very excited, very grateful. That's my time. It's Friday. It's stoppage time. It's time for me to get off into the weekend. I thank Bruce for all of his work in putting that essay together and the research that he did. I always love and am grateful for him in our community and behind me and next to me as we do things creatively together. This is a shout out to our team, to Deanna, to Anna Paula, and all that we are capable of doing already and that we are going to do in the future as we grow together. And I'm just moved and always grateful for the conversations that I get to have with the people that matter most in my life. And this weekend, it was my daughter. It was a lot of conversations with my 8-month-old grandson who doesn't yet speak anything but gargly smiles, with my best friends, with Jamie, with Jeff, with Amber, with people that I spent time with over the weekend, with the hundreds, and I say this very humbly, but hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of DMs and or messages on social media that I receive from you all, that remind me how loved and cared for I am and how important I am. And that was really gratifying. But ultimately, it's all born of great conversations that we've all had at some point in our relationships. And that's all we're really doing here. I'm just doing what I do in real life. I'm bringing it to the screen. I'm bringing it to the microphone, and we are bringing it with Deanna's immense creative production talents in a way that is visually stimulating and connective and auditorily connective to you in a very human way. And now we are announcing loudly and proudly that we are offering this via the studio side of our business. And who knows, maybe someday we become the little mini Disney of the audio video storytelling world. And wouldn't that be fun? Because it would mean that we would have helped injected hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of great stories out into the universe. And ultimately, that's our art. And that is my entire purpose for being for whatever years I have left on this earth. So grateful for you all, grateful for people like Oli and my daughter who inspired my thoughts this week, and grateful for the thoughts and research that Bruce did. So cheers, happy weekend. We'll see you right back here next Friday. And in the meantime, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Find our Entrepreneurial Thinker Show, where you can enjoy some of the best and brightest people in the world figuring out how to leave this world a little bit better than we found it. We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at eSudo. You know, running any business, but especially a law firm, means balancing a lot. And technology, frankly, shouldn't be a headache. eSudo makes information technology and cybersecurity simple for law firms large or small. With over 20 years of experience, they specialize in everything from Microsoft 365 management to advanced cybersecurity solutions. They help you to stay ahead of threats, manage your data securely, and keep your tech running smoothly so that you can focus on what matters most, your clients. eSudo understands the legal industry's unique needs, offering tailored solutions to ensure that your firm is always in compliance and always protected. Are you ready to upgrade your firm's technology or get help with your questions? Visit esudo.com.